Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Star Trek The Next Generation Season 2, Episode 4. It's called The Outrageous Okona. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. This is a weird episode, and in a show that doesn't have continuity really between episodes. It's weird to watch one and go, this felt like filler, but it kind of felt like filler.
Sure. I say that without any sort of continuity,
I know.
it feels as meaningful as any other episode.
Well, I know. I admit that that's a weird statement to say, but it still had that kind of feeling about it. It felt like, oh, we need a silly little script to pad out an episode, so we'll get the episode count up.
Fair enough.
So this is what we ended up with. Not that I hated it. It's generally amusing enough that
It's perfectly enjoyable. This one.
yeah. Although I was glad because there's a subplot here where because the guy, this Okona guy who ends up on board, he brings the subject of humour up and joking, and Data doesn't get it. So Data has this subplot where he wants to understand laughter and humour, and he talks to Gwynn about it, and she cracks a little joke about him being an android and her being annoyed. Amusing enough. But what I was really glad about though is that he goes to the holodeck and he conjures up a stand-up comedian and he's trying to like explain humour and jokes to him. I am glad that the rest of the episode made it very clear that the writers didn't think anything this comedian did was funny, because it was all painfully unfunny. Every single part of it. Yeah. He did not say one single funny thing the entire time.
No, he didn't. But it became very aware that was intentional.
Yeah. Well, once he kept going, it felt that way. I was a little worried though when he first started cracking jokes or describing what was funny. I was like, is this supposed to be?
Do they think this is funny?
Yeah.
Was this funny in the 80s?
Yeah, I was a little taken aback, but because he goes back to Gwynn and tries to like do some jokes on her.
And he puts on the thick accent and just imitates the jokes.
Yeah, but no timing, no nothing. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So what's weird about this plot though is that everything we just talked about, or everything we just said, all happens back to back, right? Everything we've just talked about there happens back to back, and then this scene ends where he's with Gwynn by being called to the bridge, and then the main plot goes back on. And what's weird about this is that this subplot, instead of being sprinkled throughout the episode, is contained almost entirely to this like sort of 5 to 7 minute chunk of the episode, and then again at the end we come back to it and there's like another 4 minute chunk. It's really weird how this is split up through the episode, because
it's probably the worst thing about the episode.
Yeah, because I got, the main plot got going again, and we got to the point where, maybe 30 minutes into the episode out of the 45, and I went, hey, we've not went back to that Data joking subplot, like, since it happened.
Yeah. Because, like I say, it goes from Gwynn holodeck back to Gwynn all in one go, and I'm like, why are these not interspersed as 3 separate chunks throughout 20 minutes?
It's a weird structural thing, because I assumed, I mean, even once I felt it had been a while, I was like, well, I assume they're going to at least have a payoff at the end for it, but at that point it's going to feel like it was ages ago we did any of this. So, and sure enough, we Gwynn comes to the holodeck as well, and like Data is doing a stand-up routine, but the fake audience he realizes after a while that they're just laughing at everything he does, no matter what he does. It doesn't matter if he's actually funny. So he, lets it, shuts it all off, gets rid of the comedian. And it's kind of a bit of a downer for him. He does accidentally get a joke at the end though, where he, Wesley says, "Say goodbye, Data," and he says, "Goodbye, Data," and Riker lets out a little chuckle, and he's like, "Was that funny?" And then he searches his data banks and he's like, yes, that's like a joke. This person said. And he tells another little joke. He's like, yes, this is just like the woman on the nudist speech who nothing looks good on. And then Riker's like, shall we go at warp speed, sir? And Picard's like, yes, please.
just shut him up.
Everyone's in pain because Data's trying to do jokes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was a subplot. It was a fine little subplot.
And none of it was bad, but like I say, it was just weird the way it was structured.
It was a very weird pacing of the subplot. None of it was bad. I was very glad when Data started fast forwarding through the comedian though, because these jokes were
painful.
Very painful. The main plot, however, though, is that they come across an outlaw, a rogue, as Troy puts it at one point. Who's on a little ship on his own, and his ship's broken down, and they offer him, we'll, repair your thing, and you can come across on board. But So they try and give this guy. He's basically kind of a Star-Lord-esque kind of character. He's supposed to be a bit of a chick magnet. In fact, just for this episode, a young Terry Hatcher apparently is now operating the transport beam, because she's there and he flirts with her. And her entire character is to be flirted with in that scene, and then like a couple of minutes later, when he's leaving Data, he's like, oh, he's been invited to her quarters and they're going to have sex, and then. I think you see her like in the background at one point later on, but that's her entire character. That's the whole thing. And the joke is, of course, is that we have this whole subplot with Data after this scene where he goes to her, and the next time we see him, after these other ships have shown up and demand Picard like hand him over, and Worf has to go and find him. He goes into this quarters and he's kissing someone, and then it turns out to be a different woman. So he's already had a second affair on the ship at this point.
Yeah. It's treated very liberally, The Picard's like, I don't care, They're all free to do whatever they want with you.
Yeah, that's not my criticism of this.
No.
My criticism of this is that I don't buy this guy's a chick magnet.
Look, I'm just saying he's very different to everyone else on the ship, and they're all like, oh, yes, different.
It feels very forced to me that the women are literally within minutes of meeting him, like, yes, come back to my quarters. Oh, I'm swooning over here. I'm swooning. I don't know. The characters on Star Trek are supposed to be more level-headed, I guess. A bit more logical.
I mean, I'm not really having the same problem with it as you.
Well, this wasn't cartoony to you.
I mean, it's I don't know, it's fine.
I don't know.
It didn't really bother me.
It felt like such a hijinks character. It felt very, I don't know. It felt like a cartoon character to me. It didn't feel. None of it felt real.
Fair enough. I mean, it was fine.
I mean, it was there, yeah. So, and then the other complaint I suppose I would have with the episode is the resolution or the reveal of what's actually going on at the end was like so predictable. Like as soon as they introduced the elements, it was like, okay, well, this is exactly how this is going to end.
As soon as it's just okay, so it's Romeo and Juliet.
Kind of, yeah. So basically, there's two planets nearby who are always kind of feuding, but they've got a treaty, so they're at peace. They kind of hate each other still, but they've just been kind of going along with peace for a while. And the one leader shows up, and he's like, "Hey, this Okona impregnated my daughter and left her with a bastard child.
You gotta come back and marry her."
Yeah, and then the other dude shows up from the other planet, the other leader. He's like, "Oh, you betrayed my son and stole our family jewel, and my son treated you like a best friend, and you betrayed him and took the jewel." And almost immediately I went, well, I wonder if this son and the daughter are actually in love, and that's actually what's going on here, and Okona has nothing to do with any of it, outside of the fact that he did have the jewel on him because he was delivering it from the guy to the girl as a present.
It wasn't that he had nothing to do with it. He'd been facilitating them and passing messages between them and such, so he was involved, but he wasn't the culprit.
He was the kid who basically one of them said, "Hey, will you ask this person out for me?" Like that. He's that person.
Yeah.
He's going back from planet to planet, doing this. Because there's a whole thing where, like, at least one of the ships is saying, "Oh, we're going to attack the Enterprise with our lasers," and Picard and everyone's like,
"Just get laugh, go for it, go on, man."
Yeah, your lasers aren't going to do it. None of our shields would even be weakened by your lasers. And Riker says, "I mean, technically, tradition dictates that this should be a yellow alert." And Picard's like, "Well, I guess we should then, I suppose, if the protocol says so. However, I mean, technically we should also prepare this just in case we have to like surrender." But again, it's like, which is not going to happen because this ship, this is not a battleship. This is not a ship in the military.
No, they are just laughing at them the whole time with this. It's like, go then, shoot all you want.
Which does give, I guess this is why the episode feels a little bit fillery to me, is that neither the A plot or the B plot have any threat of any kind whatsoever.
No, there isn't any threat, but I mean, I thought it was a nice change of pace. Not every adventure is life or death.
Oh no, that's true, but I don't know, like there was no, I don't know, just no real.
I think for me, I appreciate that they didn't try and put in like what we talk about in Trek a lot is the ticking time clock element that is usually really artificially kind of just stuck in there. To really give it a countdown.
Oh yeah, but usually in those episodes there's another threat as well. That's just to give it a time crunch element.
Right, but usually that's where the actual threat comes from. Not that they're going to be beaten, but more so they won't do it in time, right?
Well, it depends on the episode. Some of them do still have villains, or they still have people who are dying on a planet or something like that, and they have to get to them. Like,
Yeah, like those ones in particular, I find is the problem at hand isn't really that much of a problem. It's just that the solution would take too much time to deliver the medicine, for example. So that's where the threat comes from there.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not ragging on the episode that much. I just like it's a pretty like I'm not going to remember this episode. Like,
Oh,
this is a
I mean, we'll find out in a few months if I'll remember it or not.
yeah. It's a fairly lighthearted. It's enjoyable enough episode. It's not a bad episode, I don't think, but it's not
Yeah,
like
I think I'll probably remember because it's like the first time we've really seen a proper roguish character.
because there's no because that's the thing with the main plot. There's absolutely no reason for anyone to really care about it on the ship, right? Because the ship's not under threat because of it. Basically, the most we get out of any character is Picard just been annoyed that he has to deal with it. Like he's just like, oh, I have to deal with you because you're on our ship and under
Yeah,
in my
and he's got
custody.
mediate, and it's like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do? If I turn you over to them, they're going to be at war. If I turn you over to the other one, they're going to be at war.
Yes,
It's
yes.
like, and if I
I
just
mean,
let you go,
as
which I
a
should do, you'll just get shot down, and I'll feel pretty guilty about that.
I suppose the one thing I'll say for it is that at least when we read that it was going to be about two feuding worlds and they were going to have to mitigate, it didn't play into the tropes that they've done before as much as we thought they might.
At the end of that, I distinctly remember saying, "Oh, I've seen this episode before."
Yes.
I'm glad I hadn't, because I think this is more enjoyable than just another one of those that we've seen a lot of.
Yeah. Worf was ready to rip him apart at one point though, and he's like, "No, I've got my orders."
Yeah.
But he was tempted. He was tempted to go for it. To rip
Why
apart
not?
a new one. Yeah. Yeah. I'm surprised you're as positive on this as you are. Like,
I actually found it reasonably enjoyable. I didn't have, like I said, if this pacing with the plots had been evened out, I would probably say, yeah, this is a good episode.
Actually, I'll tell you what, the word that's missing from this episode. The one thing that is just missing, which makes it feel a little bit like, okay, yeah, that was amusing for 45 minutes. Is there's like no urgency in any way, shape, or form on anything. Like zero urgency.
No, there's not.
Nothing matters. Nothing's a threat. Everything's just kind of going along, doing its thing, which. Because let's face it, I mean, it gets away with it to a point because it's a TV show with 20 plus episodes a season, and it's like, okay, we can have a downbeat episode once in a while. If this was a movie and there was no urgency,
Sure, that would be very different.
We'd be ripping it apart. Yeah, but like theoretically, every episode of a TV show should still adhere to at least simple storytelling principles.
Sure, I don't know. Like I said, like for me, just having such a break from convention feels refreshing. I think that's why I enjoyed it. It felt refreshing because it wasn't. There was no real stakes. It was like, hey, let's just kind of enjoy the ride for 45 minutes, be a little bit enjoyable, and that to me was reasonably enjoyable. Yeah, I'm just kind of going with it and seeing what happens. Not worrying about, oh, okay, there's always a reason why. Oh, the ship's going to be destroyed. No, not this time. It's fine. It's just sometimes things are smaller scale, and I didn't have any problems with any of the characters. A bit predictable with the outcome. Don't be wrong. Like I say, as soon as you saw them, you knew what was going on. So that was probably the weakest element of the plot, was just how predictable it was. But yeah, I think if the pacing had been better, I'd be like, yeah, no, this is a pretty good episode for being different. As it is, it's just it's enjoyable enough with those problems.
I mean, it's not a hard episode to watch. It wasn't painful. It was fine. Like it's fine and relatively amusing. Like
Yeah,
I don't have like a whole lot of negative feelings towards it, but I'm just we're reviewing it, so I'm going to.
This is something I put on when I was eating my dinner, and it was perfectly appropriate for that.
Sure, but what I'm saying is we're reviewing it, so I'm not just going to give it a pass and say, well, it was amusing, so I'm just going to let it go. The reason why I'm analyzing it and saying this is okay.
No, I agree. I'm just saying I don't think every episode needs urgency necessarily. Like one of my favorite shows that is Cowboy Bebop, and like the entirety of that show is just kind of wandering around and seeing what they stumble into. it's very freeform, and that's kind of the whole point. So to me, this isn't necessarily a criticism.
Okay. I'm baffled why you're so against my opinion on this. It's weird.
No, I'm just saying, that you were saying you were a bit confused as to why I was so positive.
I
And I think
guess.
for me, like, that big thing you're kind of pulling against it as to why this isn't, a good episode. Really, it's just enjoyable enough. Is to me that's not actually a problem.
I'll go back to what I said at the start. It's enjoyable filler. That's what it felt like
Sure.
to me. So again, I get that's a weird statement because Star Trek, at least as of yet, does not have any real continuity.
Yeah.
But it just feels that way.
Yeah.
That was the feeling I had. I got to the end, I was like, oh yeah, that was fine. But it wasn't like, because at least there's no continuity. Like episodes still, like some episodes still feel important. Like, okay, no, this encounter with the Romulans or this encounter with the Borg or whatever,
Sure.
is always going to be. It's always going to be memorable, and it's always going to feel like it's part of the tapestry of the show. Where when you look back at the show, you go, "Oh no, these are the major things that were important. These were the major things that defined what it was."
Oh, absolutely. But I got to the end of this episode, I went, yeah, I enjoyed that. I got two major positives here.
Okay.
None of the Doctor, and
Sure. Pulaski,
none,
yes.
if very little Wesley. I don't recall any Wesley.
No, I had seen at the start when Okona first showed up, and then towards the end.
He was like starstruck.
Yes, he's starstruck because he's such a cool guy.
Yeah. But I mean, he was barely in the episode, so I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Pleasantly fine, forgettable episode. Is basically my thing. Next time we have Loud as a Whisper. The crew ferries a deaf mediator to Solaris 5. Sorry, so not Solaris. Solace 5 to negotiate an end to a civil war. Well, another civil war. I mean, I guess it's not a civil war when it's two planets, but two opposing sides.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I wonder if this is going to be more about the actual the journey there, and
Yeah,
we won't even
possibly.
actually get to the negotiations or anything like that.
Yeah. No,
Hard to say.
hard to say. Rating on IMDb isn't so hot. It's not the worst ever either, but it's not like
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, so yeah, there you go. That's this week's Star Trek. You can let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. You can like and subscribe and all that stuff. You can get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and the channel and everything we do here, you can head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv, where you can support us for as little as $1 per month. You get bonuses, some extras. You get these Star Trek reviews a week early, amongst other things. So go and have a look-see. Otherwise, check out other stuff we do. We have classic reviews of the Twilight Zone going up every week. We have current reviews for shows. Obviously, we're going to be reviewing new Star Trek shows when they're coming. We're gearing up for Picard sometime early next year and Discovery Season 3. So we'll be here for that. So that's us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. And to everyone but Connor, live long and prosper.